Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about the Minolta Sightseer Zoom. So, you might be here because you're looking for this camera, but you might also have clicked on this video because you're looking for the Minolta Sightseer Freedom Zoom. Now, just to let you guys know, these cameras are the same camera from what I can tell. There might be a few small differences, but if you're having trouble finding information on that camera, this is a pretty good resource. I'm confident that you'll be able to get everything you need. So, this camera, what about it? I got it for $6. I think that you can get it for easily sub $20. And I want to tell you why I like it. But before we get into what's like special or interesting about this camera, I want to talk about specs a little bit. So, specs. It's 35mm, of course, because it is a film camera. It's got an automatic film transport, which means it advances the film for you. It's got a 35 to 70mm zoom lens with an f5.3. Its minimum focus distance is 4 feet, so you're not going to get any crazy macro shots. It has 4 different shutter speeds in its automatic settings. It's got 1/200, 1/70, 1/40, and 1/15. It actually has auto DXing from 100 to 400 ISO, so that's pretty useful. You know, if you're going to go to the beach, anywhere in that range is pretty good. You're going to go walk around on the boardwalk, slap a 200 ISO film in there, the thing will probably land somewhere between 170 and 1/200 depending on if you're under shade or if you're out in the open, and you'll get pretty decent exposures. And then the only downside to this camera specs, there are no manual exposure settings. So for the casual shooter, those specs might have just been like, whoa, you dumped a lot on me. What does all that mean for me? So talking about the audio DX settings. If you've never used a film camera before, and this is your first one, I have here a roll of Fujifilm Extra 400. I'm going to try and show a close-up of me loading this into the camera. We'll see how that goes. On the back of these films, they have these little silver-looking, like, essentially they're contacts, and when you put the film in and you lay it over, and it touches the contacts, the camera can tell exactly what ISO the film is. Now, I'm going to put a resource in the description that talks a little bit more about auto DXing. If you want to keep your life simple, watch that video, go pick a film that works for you, and you don't really worry about it too much if your camera supports it. So, there's some things about this camera that make shooting with it really fun. And I'm going to get to the things I like, but first I want to talk a little bit about how the camera works and show you some examples of some really cool things this camera does. I'm going to try and show you a preview of the viewfinder on screen right now. Hopefully you guys are seeing it and I could get the shot. But this camera has, inside of its viewfinder, a frame line that uses a prism that is slightly off sides, so the lighting actually lights it up yellow. And then on top of that, you can actually, when you zoom in and out of the camera, see the prism moving back and forth because it moves the eyepiece with the zoom. So, taking a step backwards, back towards the steps, you may have noticed that I mentioned an auto film transport. And there's actually a small tooth underneath where it says film tip that is what grabs the film and auto winds it in. And you'll notice if you have a battery in it and you close the camera and you turn it on, and when the motor goes off, that's actually winding your first frame up. And then the camera will automatically count up from that point. So now I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of how you operate this camera. So you can, when you turn it on or off, when you open the camera, you get your first click and then the secondary click turns on the camera. Now it's on. Same thing the other way, you press it in, lens goes in, and you close your cover. Pretty straightforward. Open the cover, turns on, close the cover, it turns off. Another thing, so if you flip to the back of the camera, you have, I guess you could say 4 buttons, but one of them is a rocker. You have your wide and your telephoto, so if you press in on your T, press in on the W, zoom all the way out. You have your timer button, and you have your flash mode switch. One thing that was really, really helpful going to shoot this with my friends on the beach was the ability to turn the flash off. A lot of point-and-shoot cameras have the flash basically set to a mode where it's permanently on. With this camera, because I was outside on the beach, why would I have needed that, right? So I actually just went to the back, clicked the button a few times, turned it off, and hopefully all these shots that I'm inserting throughout this really demonstrate how easy this camera is to use. So I know I'm kind of going on about it, but this camera really is a simple product. Now, lastly on how to use this camera, I'm going to talk a little bit about the timer mode. The timer mode is extremely straightforward. Turn the camera on, pressing the timer button appears, and then click your shutter and you wait. It's going to start blinking. And after about 10 seconds, you've got your exposure. Everything about this camera is super easy to use. I mean, the most complicated thing on this body is probably the pinhole that you have to stick a little needle into that will wind your film back when you're done. But I actually prefer that to not being easy to press button. So things I like, things I dislike about the camera. The autofocus on this thing is great. There was rarely, if ever, I don't remember honestly, ever a moment where I pointed at something, went to take a shot and was like, wait, I want to make sure it autofocused. I didn't hear it move yet. I don't know if it got it. It was really quick. It was something I never worried about. And having an f5.3, the zone of focus that this has is wide enough that honestly, there's not even really like any reason to worry anyways. Another thing, this camera is super unobtrusive and casual looking. Because if you go out to the beach with a big camera rig, people come and bother you because they want to know what's going on, you know? Yeah, they're being nosy and it can be annoying, but I get it, you know? I would have done the same thing if I was, you know, back in the day, walking around the beach with this and someone walked by with a huge professional thing. I'd be like, whoa, like, let me see what they have. But it can get annoying. It can get annoying when you have people bothering you while you're shooting. Okay, last thing. So, the long zoom range. This camera's zoom doesn't seem that crazy, and I've probably already put B-roll of it on screen. If I didn't, I'm going to show it right now. But it goes from 35 to 70 millimeters. Having the ability to stand back and use the zoom to frame your shot really makes things easier. I found a situation where there was a steeple at the top of like a 3-story building. I'm not exactly tall enough to get close to that. The zoom range on this was plenty for me to get like a pretty nice framing. I was really satisfied with that photo. Felt great in such a cheap, simple camera. Now, my last point. A decision that you have to make as a consumer when it comes to buying a camera like this one. I paid $6 per camera and I got 2, so $12 total for 2 cameras. I have looked online and I've seen some for maybe 20-ish including shipping. I've seen some that are around 30 including shipping. I would say about 30 is where I'm going to max out the value of this camera. If you find it for like $35 and that doesn't include shipping, I'd say wait a little bit. Look at some other options. What's really important to keep in mind, and I say all of this and I'm here basically advertising like go buy this camera, it's great. The camera that you have really is the best camera. If you don't want to spend money on a camera, download a creative app on your phone. You can take really cool photos with your phone. If you really want a camera, but you can't afford this one because it's $35 and you only have $10 in your PayPal, find something for $10. That might be perfectly fine for what you want. Have fun shooting. Get a camera that makes you happy and go out and shoot. Okay, well, I'm done with my little rant on what should make people happy and what shouldn't, and you know what? Maybe don't listen to me at all. Here are some photos I took with the camera, and hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so you made it to the end of the video, you watched my slideshow, you watched me talk about the camera, you're wondering why I came back on screen. This is just me asking you guys to give feedback. I haven't been on YouTube in what feels like 3 or 4 years. My channel was completely wiped, all my content gone. I'm starting over because I feel like I can do better. I want to know what people want in content. Stuff talking about cameras, like the one I talked about today, can be very subjective based on like what you like. but I try to include as much objective stuff as possible, you know, talking about the viewfinder and the shutter speed, things like that. Let me know if I missed something. Let me know if there's something that I could have done better in the comments down below. If you want, you can message me on Instagram. I mean, hey, if you're like, oh, I know this cool trick about the camera you should have included in your video, let me know, because maybe in the future I'll come back and I'll be like, hey guys, I'm remaking this video because that other video was not good. I want to do better, you know. I want to make videos that make people feel like they learned something, like they discovered what camera works for them. So please leave me some kind of feedback, because I want these videos to really be something that, like, people feel like they got something out of. So yeah, there's my little rant. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching the whole thing, or at least I guess thank you for skipping to the end. And hopefully I see you guys next time. You know, like, subscribe, all that stuff. You know, do it if you want. I'm not gonna tell you to do it. So yeah, bye.